figured I'd take you all for a nice winter walk and show you what's going on. Show you what it's like here after a nice big snowstorm in Missouri. I want to have a conversation about iteration really quickly. So iteration is the idea of going through your process and revisiting it constantly to see what works and what doesn't work. I talked a little bit about this last week, but that's something that I wanted to discuss because constantly and regularly reviewing your writing process is just as much part of becoming a writer as sitting your butt down to actually write, you know? That's why I set a plan every year, and I set a plan every year, and then I see how I do with that plan. It's not necessarily because that roadmap is exactly what I'm going to achieve for the year. That's not how it works, right? Sometimes, no matter what you do, things just don't work out the way you plan. The purpose, instead, is to give myself a yardstick to start operating in. If I want to finish a draft, what steps do I need to take to make that happen, right? If I want to finish it in 2 months and it's a 100,000 word manuscript, that means I got to write 50,000 words a month. Just a nano project each month. That's no big. Yeah, okay, that might be a bit of a big. Just slipped and fell on my butt in the middle of the snow. I have snow going down my pants. It's very cold. I think I'm going inside. I need tea. So, with that in mind, let's look forward to 2019. For my first foundational goal of 2019 is my metrics. And so I want to try and write at least 360 hours this coming year in 2019. And I also want to try and write at least 60% of the days to try and make sure that I'm writing consistently. Because I will also tell you that there was 2 months this year where I didn't write nearly that much at all. Both May and December were months that I really took my foot off the gas. And I want to try to avoid a down month like that to really force myself to continue to write consistently. And I think that this is a reasonable metric that I can achieve. Second, for Stars of Steel and Iron, I will send out at least 30 well-researched, polished, and individualized queries to agents. I want to keep making the rounds with this book, and it's something that I was not doing systematically enough to begin with. And yes, I was getting people who were requesting for pages, and yes, I was researching the individual agents, but it was just, here's an agent who's really interesting, let me research them and go, I want to be more systematic about it, and I want to send these off in batches. So that's the goal that I'm going to do. This is going to be done before my birthday on March 4th because I really want to keep this process going to work on getting this book published. I think it should be out in the world and I want to do my part. This is the next step in that process. Also, when it comes to writing, I don't want to set a bunch of goals saying, I will finish this draft for this manuscript, this draft of this manuscript, and then this draft of this manuscript. And that's because sometimes drafts take longer than you expect because you don't anticipate all the problems that you deal with. And I don't want to feel bad if one of my projects took longer than I expected, because if I was still writing regularly, I shouldn't feel guilty that it took, an extra 2 or 3 months. To that end, instead, here is the project queue that I am going to be working through. So the first thing in this queue is I want to finish this draft of my nano project, of my, homage to tabletop role-playing games. I've been calling it Treasure Hunt. Second, I want to finish the first draft of my story. I'm calling it Musketeer. It's a first attempt back at fantasy, actually, for the first time since 2005. The next thing on that queue, the third thing on the queue, is I want to get a second draft done of that Musketeer project. That's my project queue for the year. If I get through everything in that queue, great. If I don't get through everything in that year, that's also fine. So then short stories. When it comes time for short stories, I want to do some work on this, and it seems to me that the first step to understanding short stories is to read more short stories. So my goal for the year is to read at least 10 short story collections. Now these might be like bound story collections like we have on our shelves that you might get from the library that are published all as one big collection, and that's completely fine. These might also be some of the spec fic magazines that I have subscriptions to, because they are also putting out a lot of really good content, and I want to start trying to keep up with that better. I'm not going to set any specific goals about how I want to try to submit this many short stories. I want to worry about my foundations first. I just want to read more short stories. Once I've read more of them, then I'm sure that the itch to write some of them will follow. That's all that I had for this week. I just wanted to take some time to lay out there what my goals were for 2018 and to show you what my goals are for 2019. Alright, what about you? What are you trying to do? What are your writing goals or creative goals throughout 2019? How can I help you? If you're like me and you would like an elaborate spreadsheet to try and track your writing in, by the way, let me know. Reach out to me down below in the comments or reach out to me on Twitter. I'm there entirely too much. I am at BowtieWriter. I have an elaborate spreadsheet that I have built over the years that's got multiple tabs, one tab for every month, lots of pretty graphs. You can do historical data. You can track all of the time you spend writing. And for me, it's been a really useful tool, and I have a blank template of it, so if you want one, let me know, reach out. I would happily send it to you. Not a thing. It's just I want to do what I can to support you. Alright, everybody, that's it. That's all I have for this week. Be kind to yourselves. I hope you have had a lovely set of holidays. That's all I have. I'm Mike, the Bowtie Writer. I will see you all next time.